Tommaso Ferrante heard the lilting Italian before he saw who was speaking it. His mother's language, spoken with a Florentine accent that made his chest tight with unexpected emotion. He looked up from his menu to find their waitress, a young woman with dark eyes and an uncertain smile, conversing with his mother like they were old friends in a Sicilian village. No one ever spoke Italian to his mother. Not anymore. The restaurant was called Nonna's, tucked into a corner of Boston's North End where the tourists rarely wandered. It was the kind of place that served real Italian food, not the American version with too much cheese and garlic bread. And Tommaso brought his mother here every Friday night without fail. It was their tradition, started when his father died 10 years ago, and his mother had looked at him with hollow eyes and said she couldn't remember the last time someone had taken her to dinner. Tommaso had made sure she never forgot again. Tonight, Teresa Ferrante sat across from him in a navy dress she'd owned for 20 years, her silver hair twisted into the same elegant bun she'd worn since he was a child. She was beautiful in that timeless way some Italian women had, all sharp cheekbones and expressive hands, and eyes that held entire conversations without words. She was studying the menu even though she always ordered the same thing, and Tommaso was about to tease her about it when their waitress appeared. "Buonasera," the young woman said, her voice soft but clear. "Cosa posso portarvi da bere questa sera?" Tommaso's head snapped up. His mother's menu lowered slowly, her eyes wide with something that looked like disbelief. The waitress stood beside their table with a notepad in hand, looking nervous but professional. She was petite, maybe 5'5" in the flats she wore, with dark brown hair pulled back in a neat bun and hazel eyes that had a slight exotic tilt to them. She wore the standard uniform, black pants, white button-down, black apron. Nothing special. But when she'd spoken Italian, her whole face had transformed, becoming animated and warm. "Tu parli italiano?" Teresa breathed, switching immediately from English. "Si, signora." The waitress smiled, and it was genuine. "My mother is from Florence. I grew up speaking it at home." "Florence?" Teresa's hands flew to her chest. "I have cousin in Florence. The city is beautiful, no?" "The most beautiful," the waitress agreed. "I want to work there someday. I'm studying to be a chef, and there's so much to learn from Italian cuisine." Tommaso watched this exchange with a feeling he couldn't quite name. His mother was leaning forward now, her entire body language different than it had been 30 seconds ago. She looked alive, engaged, happy. "A chef." Teresa clapped her hands together. "This is wonderful, what you study." "Everything, but I love traditional Italian the most." The waitress's enthusiasm was infectious. "Regional dishes, the ones that have been passed down through families. That's what I want to preserve and share." "Brava, brava." Teresa was beaming. "You know, my grandmother in Sicily, she make the most incredible arancini. I try to make here, but is not the same. The rice, She gestured helplessly. "Something is missing." "The saffron?" the waitress suggested. "Or maybe the ratio of rice to filling. Traditional Sicilian arancini are more rice-heavy than the versions we make here." Teresa stared at her. "Yes, exactly this. How you know?" "I wrote a paper on regional variations of arancini for my culinary program." The waitress looked slightly embarrassed. "I might have gotten a little obsessed with getting it right." Tommaso's mother laughed, actually laughed, and the sound did something complicated to his chest. When was the last time he'd heard her laugh like that? Not the polite chuckle she gave his jokes, but real laughter, the kind that came from joy. "What is your name?" Teresa asked. Chiara Rossi?" "Chiara." Teresa repeated it with obvious pleasure. "Beautiful name for beautiful girl. I am Teresa, and this is my son, Tommaso." The waitress, Chiara, finally looked at him, and Tommaso saw the exact moment she recognized who he was. Her eyes widened slightly, and she took a small step back. Fear flickered across her face, quickly suppressed behind professional courtesy. Everyone in the North End knew the Ferrante name. Everyone knew what it meant. "Mr. Ferrante," she said carefully, her Italian disappearing into accented English. "It's nice to meet you." "Tommy," he corrected, keeping his voice gentle. He was used to this reaction, but somehow, seeing it from her bothered him more than usual. "Just Tommy. And thank you for making my mother smile. That doesn't happen often enough." Something in Chiara's expression softened. "Your mother is lovely. It's my pleasure to speak with her." "You come here often?" Teresa asked, switching back to Italian. "Work here long?" "4 months now," Chiara replied in the same language. "I work nights and weekends while I'm in school. It helps me learn about restaurant operations, and the chef here lets me watch him work sometimes." "Smart girl." Teresa nodded approvingly. "And your Italian is perfetto. Your mother teach you well. She insisted we speak it at home, said I needed to know where half of me came from." Chiara smiled. "My father is American, so English was everywhere else. But at home, with Mama, always Italian." Tommaso filed away every detail. Mixed heritage, which explained the unique beauty of her features. Close to her mother. Ambitious. Passionate about food. And so damn young. Mid-20s at most, probably younger. Too young for him to be noticing the way her hands moved when she talked. Too young for him to be thinking about that smile. "We should order," he said, more abruptly than he intended. "Before the kitchen gets too busy." Chiara's professional mask slid back into place. "Of course. What can I get for you?" Teresa ordered her usual, the ossobuco, but not before asking Chiara's opinion on 3 other dishes and getting enthusiastic recommendations. Tommaso ordered without really paying attention, his mind elsewhere. When Chiara left to put in their order, his mother turned to him with eyes that were suspiciously bright. "Tommaso," she said quietly in Italian. "That girl, she speak to me like I am person. Not old woman, not someone to be patient with. Person. Mama." "You don't understand." Teresa's hands were shaking slightly as she reached for her water. "I live in America 35 years. 35 years, and no one speak Italian with me except you. The other ladies at church, they are all gone now. Dead or moved back to Italy. I am alone here with this language I love, and no one want to hear it." Tommaso felt something crack in his chest. "I speak Italian with you. You do, and I love you for it. But tesoro, you learn Italian here. American Italian. That girl, she speak like my mother spoke. Like home." Teresa wiped her eyes quickly. "Is small thing, I know, but is not small to me." He reached across the table and took his mother's hand. "I know, Mama. I'm sorry. I should have realized." No. She squeezed his fingers. "You give me everything. This restaurant every week, your time, your love. I'm not complaining. I am just saying, that girl, she give me gift tonight. Even if it's just for 5 minutes. She make me feel like I am home again." Tommaso looked across the restaurant to where Chiara was talking to the chef through the kitchen window, her face animated and focused. She was gesturing enthusiastically about something, and the older chef was nodding, a small smile on his usually stern face. "She's special," Tommaso heard himself say. "See." Teresa's eyes were knowing. "Very special." Chiara returned with their drinks and a basket of bread that hadn't been on the menu. "Chef made focaccia today," she explained, setting it down, "with rosemary from the garden. I thought you might enjoy it, Signora Teresa. You remember my name." Teresa looked delighted. "Of course." Chiara smiled. "And I asked Chef if I could bring you a small taste of his arancini. He makes them Sicilian style, very traditional. I thought you might like to try them while you wait for your entrees." She placed a small plate with 2 golden arancini in front of Teresa, who looked at them like they were precious jewels. "This is too much," Teresa protested weakly. "It's nothing. Chef is happy to share with someone who appreciates the traditional way." Chiara glanced at Tommaso. "I'll be back to check on you soon." She left before Tommaso could thank her, already moving to another table with the same focused efficiency. Teresa bit into one of the arancini and closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet with tears. "Mama?" Tommaso leaned forward, concerned. "Is perfect," she whispered in Italian. "Exactly like my nonna used to make. The saffron, the ratio, everything." She laughed through her tears. "I am silly old woman, crying over rice balls." "You're not silly." Tommaso's voice was rough. "And you're not old." He watched his mother savor the arancini, watched her face transform with each bite, and made a decision. He was coming back to this restaurant, and it had nothing to do with the food. The next Friday, Tommaso arrived at Nonna's alone. His mother had a church function, some Saints' Day celebration that the older Italian ladies took seriously, and he'd told her he'd eat at home. Instead, he found himself walking into the restaurant at 7 o'clock, scanning the room for a dark-haired waitress with a shy smile. She was there, taking an order at a table near the back. When she turned and saw him, surprise flickered across her face, followed quickly by something that might have been pleasure, before she schooled her expression into professional neutrality. Tommaso let the hostess seat him at a table in Chiara's section, ignoring the knowing look the older woman gave him. He was a regular here. Everyone knew he came with his mother on Fridays. Showing up alone on a Friday was a statement, whether he wanted it to be or not. Chiara approached his table with her notepad, looking slightly flustered. "Mr. Tommy, I didn't expect to see you tonight. Is Signora Teresa well?" "She's fine. Church event." He gestured to the empty chair. "Thought I'd still come. The food's too good to miss." A small smile tugged at Chiara's lips. "I'm glad you think so. Can I get you something to drink?" "Red wine, whatever you recommend." Her eyebrows rose slightly. "You want my recommendation?" "You're studying to be a chef. I figure you know what pairs well with the menu." The smile grew. "The Chianti Classico. It's not the most expensive, but it's the best match for chef's cooking style. He uses a lot of tomato and garlic, and the Chianti cuts through it perfectly." "Then that's what I'll have." She wrote it down, then hesitated. "Your mother spoke about you all week at church. She told everyone about the waitress who speaks Italian. I think half the congregation wants to come meet me now." Tommaso felt warmth spread through his chest. "She liked you." "I liked her too. She reminds me of my nonna in Florence. Same warmth, same hands that can't stay still when she talks." "How often do you see your nonna?" Chiara's expression dimmed slightly. "Not as often as I'd like. We try to visit every few years, but plane tickets are expensive and school is—" She trailed off, probably realizing she was sharing too much with a customer. "I'm sorry. You don't need to hear about that. Let me get your wine." "Wait." Tommaso's voice stopped her. "I want to hear about it. When's the last time you went to Italy?" She bit her lip, considering whether to answer. Finally, she said, 3 years ago, right before I started culinary school. My parents took me as a graduation present. We spent 2 weeks traveling. Florence, Rome, Venice, Sicily. Her eyes went distant with memory. I ate at every restaurant I could afford and some I couldn't. Took notes on everything. It's when I knew for sure that this was what I wanted to do with my life. And now? Now I'm saving up. I want to do a stage, an internship, at a Michelin restaurant after I graduate next year. It's competitive, and most of them don't pay, so I need enough money to support myself for at least 6 months while I work there. She smiled self-consciously. That's the dream, anyway. Tommaso looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the determination beneath the shy exterior. This wasn't a girl playing at being a chef. This was someone with a plan, willing to work 2 jobs and save every penny to make her dream real. "That's a good dream," he said quietly, "and you'll make it happen. I can tell." Her cheeks flushed pink. "Thank you. I'll get your wine now." She hurried away, and Tommaso watched her go, aware that something had shifted. He'd come here tonight telling himself it was curiosity, that he just wanted to see if she was as genuine as she'd seemed. But watching her talk about her dreams with that quiet passion in her voice, he knew he was in trouble. Over the next month, Tommaso became a regular at Nonna's. Not just Fridays with his mother, though those continued, and Teresa was delighted by how much time Chiara spent at their table, discussing recipes and regional variations. But Tuesdays and Thursdays too. Always in Chiara's section, always ordering whatever she recommended. He learned that she spoke 5 languages and was working on a 6th. That she studied in the mornings, worked at the restaurant at night, and spent her Sundays at a brunch place in Cambridge to make extra money. That her parents lived in a small house in Medford, and her father worked construction, while her mother taught Italian at a community college. That she had a younger brother in high school who wanted to be a lawyer. He learned that she was 23, 9 years younger than him, which should have mattered more than it did. That she'd never had a serious boyfriend because she was too focused on school. That she got nervous around him but tried to hide it behind professionalism. He learned that when she talked about food, her whole face lit up, and her shyness disappeared completely. That she had strong opinions about the proper way to make carbonara, and would fight anyone who suggested adding cream. That she dreamed of opening her own restaurant someday. Something small and intimate, where she could serve food that told stories. And he learned that she was noticing him too. He'd catch her looking at him when she thought he wasn't paying attention. She'd blush when their hands accidentally touched as she set down his plate. She'd linger at his table a little longer than necessary, asking about his day, sharing stories about difficult customers or something funny Chef had said. It was the head of his security who finally called him on it. "Boss," Marco said one Tuesday evening, as they sat in Tommaso's office above the restaurant supply business that fronted his real operations. "We need to talk about the girl." Tommaso didn't pretend not to know who he meant. "What about her?" "You've been to that restaurant 9 times in the last month, always requesting her section, always leaving tips that are bigger than the meal. People are noticing." So you're making yourself predictable, and you're making her visible. If anyone wanted to get to you, she'd be an easy target. Tommaso's jaw tightened. He'd thought about that. Of course he'd thought about that. But the idea of staying away from Chiara felt impossible now. No one's going to touch her. "You sure about that? Because word is spreading that Tommy Ferrante has a type now. Young, pretty waitress who doesn't know what she's getting into." Marco's voice was careful but firm. "I'm not saying don't see her. I'm saying be smart about it. Either make it official, bring her into your world properly, with protection, or walk away before someone uses her to hurt you." Tommaso stared at his second-in-command, hating that he was right. "She doesn't know what I really do. She knows the name, knows the reputation, but she doesn't know details. She's not stupid, boss. She's figured out enough. The question is, does she want to know more, or is she going to run the second this gets real?" That was the question, wasn't it? Tommaso had been careful to keep things light, friendly, nothing that crossed the line from customer to something more. But the truth was, he wanted more. He wanted to take her to dinner somewhere that wasn't Nonna's. He wanted to hear about her dreams without a notepad in her hand. He wanted to see if that spark he felt was mutual, or if he was a fool imagining things that weren't there. "I'll figure it out," Tommaso said finally. Marco nodded and left, and Tommaso sat in his office thinking about a girl with hazel eyes who spoke 5 languages and dreamed of Michelin stars. The next Friday, he brought his mother to dinner as usual, but this time he had a plan. Chiara greeted them with her now familiar warmth, immediately launching into Italian with Teresa about a recipe she'd tried that week. His mother was glowing, and Tommaso made a mental note to find a way to keep Chiara in their lives, even if his own interest in her went nowhere. His mother needed this, needed someone who made her feel connected to home. When Chiara came to take their order, Tommaso said, "Actually, I have a question for you." She looked at him, notepad ready. "Of course." "My mother's birthday is next month. I want to throw her a dinner party at my house. Something special, authentic Italian, but I don't trust caterers to get it right." He paused. "Would you be willing to cook for us? I'll pay you, obviously. Whatever your rate is plus expenses." Chiara's eyes went wide. "You want me to cook for your mother's birthday? If you're interested, I know it's a lot to ask." "No, I'd love to." The enthusiasm burst out of her before she could contain it. Then she blushed. "I mean, yes. I'd be honored. How many people?" 10, maybe 12. Close family and friends." "What kind of menu were you thinking?" Teresa cut in before Tommaso could answer. "Traditional Sicilian. The food of my childhood. The things I can't find here or make right because something is always missing." Chiara's face took on that focused expression Tommaso had come to recognize, her chef brain kicking in. "I'd need to do research, talk to you about specific dishes, get details about how your family made them, and I'd want to do a test run, make sure I can execute everything properly before the actual event." "Whatever you need," Tommaso said. "Name your price." She bit her lip, clearly trying to figure out what to charge. "Can I think about it and get back to you? I need to calculate ingredient costs and time." "Take your time. But Chiara?" He waited until she met his eyes. "I'm not hiring you because I feel sorry for you or because I want cheap labor. I'm hiring you because I've watched you work, and I know you'll treat this like it matters. Because my mother matters, okay?" Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "Okay. Yes, thank you." After she left to put in their order, Teresa turned to him with a knowing smile. "You like her. Mama? Don't mama me. I see how you look at her. Like your father looked at me when we first met." Her eyes went soft with memory. "He see me at market in Palermo, and he tell his friend, 'That is woman I'm going to marry.' His friend laugh at him. Say he is crazy. He don't even know my name. But your father, he know. Sometimes you just know." Tommaso felt heat creep up his neck. "It's not like that. She's young. She has dreams. I'm not going to mess that up for her." "Who say you mess it up? Maybe you help her dreams come true. Maybe she help yours." Teresa reached across the table and patted his hand. "You are a good man, Tommaso. You deserve to be happy. And that girl, she see you. Not the name, not the business. You. I see how she look at you too. She's scared of me. She is nervous around you. Is different. She is nervous because she like you and don't know what to do about it." Teresa smiled. "Trust your mama. I know these things." 2 weeks later, Chiara came to Tommaso's house in Beacon Hill to plan the menu with Teresa. Tommaso had deliberately stayed away for the first hour, giving them space to talk. But curiosity got the better of him, and he found himself walking into the kitchen to find the two women surrounded by cookbooks, handwritten recipes, and pages of notes. They were speaking rapid Italian, gesturing wildly, occasionally breaking into laughter. They looked up when he entered, and Chiara's cheeks went pink. She was dressed casually today, jeans and a simple green sweater that made her eyes look more gold than brown. Her hair was down for once, falling in waves past her shoulders, and Tommaso had to remind himself to breathe normally. "We're making progress," Teresa announced happily. "Chiara, she understand exactly what I mean about the flavors. She know the difference between northern and southern cooking, between Sicilian and Calabrian, between my village and the next village over." Chiara laughed. "Your mother has very specific memories. It's actually helping me a lot. Most people say, make it taste like home, but can't describe what that means. She's giving me exact details. The way her grandmother toasted the breadcrumbs, the type of tomatoes her aunt used, even the time of year certain dishes were made. Because food is about more than taste, Teresa said firmly, is about memory, about love, about who we are and where we come from. Exactly. Chiara's enthusiasm was infectious. That's what I want to capture. Not just good Italian food, but your Italian food, the food of your memories. Tommaso leaned against the doorframe, watching them work. There was something profound about seeing his mother so animated, so alive. And Chiara, she wasn't treating this like a job. She was treating it like a sacred trust. "How's it going?" he asked. "Do you need anything?" "Your kitchen is amazing," Chiara said, looking around with obvious appreciation. "Professional-grade stove, double oven, huge workspace. If I had this at home, I'd never leave." "You can use it whenever you want, for practice, for school projects, whatever." The offer came out before Tommaso could think it through. Chiara's eyes went wide. "I couldn't. That's too much. It's just sitting here. I barely cook. Seems like a waste not to let someone who'd actually use it properly have access." He shrugged, trying to make it casual. "Besides, you'll need to do a test run before the party anyway. Might as well do it here, where you'll be cooking the actual dinner." She looked at Teresa, who nodded encouragingly. "He is right. You should practice, and I am happy to be taste tester." Chiara bit her lip. "Okay, thank you. That's incredibly generous." "It's practical," Tommaso corrected, even though they both knew it was more than that. "When do you want to start?" They set up a schedule. Chiara would come over the following Sunday to do her first test run. She'd make 3 of the dishes, arancini, pasta alla norma, and cassata, and get Teresa's feedback. If they needed adjustments, she'd have 2 more weeks before the actual party. When Chiara left that afternoon, clutching her notes and promising to source the best ingredients she could find, Teresa turned to Tommaso with a satisfied smile. "She is perfect for you." "Mama, we've been through this." "No, you listen to me." Teresa's voice took on the tone that meant she wasn't backing down. "I am 57 years old. I live in America 35 years, and for 35 years I am homesick. Every day I miss Sicily. The water, the light, the language, the food. Your father, he was good man. I love him. But he bring me here, and I never go back except for visits. I tell myself is okay. I make sacrifice for love, is what women do." She paused, her eyes intense on his face. "But Tommaso, I am tired. Tired of being away from home. Tired of speaking English when I want to speak Italian. Tired of eating American versions of my food. Tired of being person no one understand anymore." Tommaso felt his chest tighten. "I didn't know you felt this way. Because I don't want to make you feel bad. You are good son, best son. You take care of me, you love me, you give me everything. But Tesoro, you cannot give me back Sicily. You cannot give me back my life from before." She smiled sadly. "But that girl, she give me taste of it. And when I see you with her, I think maybe you can have what I could not have. Maybe you can have love and dreams together. Not one or the other." "What are you saying?" "I am saying, if that girl want to go to Italy, you should go with her. If she want to chase dreams across the world, you should let her, and you should follow." "Because Tommaso, what good is all this?" She gestured around the expensive kitchen, the beautiful house. "If you are alone, if you have no one who see you, really see you, the way that girl see you." Tommaso swallowed hard. "She doesn't see me. She doesn't even know me." "She know enough, and she want to know more. I see it in her eyes when she look at you. She is just scared, like you are scared. But someone have to be brave first." Teresa cupped his face in her hands. Be brave, figlio mio. Take the chance. Don't let fear make you miss something beautiful. That Sunday, Chiara showed up at 10 in the morning with 2 bags of groceries and a notebook full of detailed prep plans. She looked nervous but excited, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt with her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Thank you again for letting me use your kitchen," she said, as Tommaso let her in. "I promise I'll clean everything up when I'm done." "Don't worry about that. Just cook." He helped her carry the bags to the kitchen. "My mother will be here at 2 to taste everything. That gives you, 4 hours? Plenty of time." She started unpacking ingredients, her movements efficient and practiced. "The arancini need to cool before frying, so I'll start with those. Then the pasta. The cassata is already made. I did it yesterday so the flavors could set." Tommaso watched her work for a few minutes, fascinated by the way she transformed. Gone was the shy waitress. This was a chef in her element, confident, focused, completely in control. She moved through his kitchen like she'd been cooking there for years, finding what she needed without hesitation. "Do you mind if I stay?" he asked. "I won't bother you. I just want to watch." She glanced at him, surprised. "You want to watch me cook?" "Yeah, I've never seen you in action before, not really." A small smile tugged at her lips. "Okay, but don't judge if I make a mess. Cooking is messy business." He grabbed a cup of coffee and settled at the kitchen island, content to observe. And it was mesmerizing. Chiara worked with a rhythm and precision that spoke of countless hours of practice. She tasted constantly, adjusting seasoning with a confidence that made her look older than 23. She talked to herself in Italian, muttering about temperatures and textures and whether the saffron was blooming properly. "You do that a lot," Tommaso observed. "Switch to Italian when you're focused." She looked up, seeming to realize she'd been speaking out loud. "Oh, sorry, it's a habit. My mother always cooked in Italian, said it made the food taste better. I guess I picked it up." "Don't apologize. It's nice. Reminds me of my mother in the kitchen when I was a kid." "Did she teach you to cook?" "She tried. I was a terrible student, too impatient." He smiled at the memory. "I wanted to eat, not learn the process." That's most people, honestly. They don't understand that cooking is about the journey, not just the destination. She rolled out dough with practiced ease. Every step matters. The way you knead the dough, the temperature of the oil, how long you let something rest. It all affects the final dish. "Is that why you want to do this professionally? Because you love the process?" She paused, considering. "Partly, but also because food is universal. It crosses language barriers, cultural boundaries. A perfectly cooked meal can make someone cry with nostalgia or laugh with joy. It can bring people together, create memories, tell stories." She looked at him, her eyes bright with passion. "I want to do that. I want to create experiences that people remember for the rest of their lives. Like what you're doing for my mother. Exactly like that." She went back to her dough. "Your mother cried when we were planning this. Did you know that? She was telling me about her grandmother's kitchen in Sicily, and she just started crying. She said she never thought she'd taste those flavors again. That's what I want to do. Bring people home through food." Tommaso felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't just ambition. This was calling. Purpose. And he wanted to be part of it. Wanted to help her achieve everything she dreamed of, even if it meant she'd outgrow him, outgrow Boston, outgrow everything he could offer her. "You're going to be incredible," he said quietly. "Whatever restaurant is lucky enough to get you, they won't know what hit them." She flushed pink, her hand stilling on the dough. "Thank you. That means a lot." They fell into comfortable silence after that, Chiara cooking and Tommaso watching. At some point, she started asking him to taste things, A spoonful of sauce here, a piece of perfectly fried arancini there. Each time she'd watch his face anxiously, waiting for his verdict. "It's good," he'd say, and she'd frown. "Just good? What's wrong with it? Too much salt? Not enough basil?" "It's perfect. I'm just not Italian enough to give you useful feedback." She laughed. "Fair point. That's why I need your mother." When Teresa arrived at 2, the kitchen smelled like heaven. Chiara had 3 dishes plated beautifully, and she stood beside them looking nervous and hopeful in equal measure. Teresa took one look at the spread and pressed her hand to her heart. "Chiara, this is beautiful. Wait until you taste it. That's what really matters." They sat at the dining room table, and Tommaso watched his mother take her first bite of the arancini. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, they were wet with tears. "Is exactly right," she whispered. "Exactly like my nonna made. How you do this? How you capture something I have not tasted in 40 years? Chiara's eyes were bright too. "You described it so perfectly. And I researched techniques from that specific region of Sicily. I wanted to honor your memories." The pasta alla norma earned similar praise. Perfectly cooked eggplant, rich tomato sauce, the exact ratio of ricotta salata that Teresa remembered. The cassata made Teresa cry again, this time with a laugh mixed in. "You are miracle worker," Teresa said, reaching across the table to squeeze Chiara's hand. "You give me back piece of my heart today, peace I thought was lost forever." Chiara squeezed back, her voice thick. "It was my honor. Really. This is exactly why I want to be a chef." After Teresa left, with strict instructions that the party would be perfetto and she couldn't wait, Tommaso helped Chiara clean up. She tried to do it herself, but he waved her off. "You cooked for 4 hours. The least I can do is wash dishes." They worked side by side, and Tommaso was hyper-aware of every time their arms brushed, every time she handed him a plate. The kitchen felt smaller with just the 2 of them, more intimate. "Your mother is wonderful," Chiara said as she wiped down the counters. "You're lucky to have her." "I know, she's been through a lot. My dad's death was hard on her, and sometimes I think she's lonelier than she lets on. She mentioned that she misses Sicily, that she never really wanted to leave." "Yeah." Tommaso dried a pot, choosing his words carefully. "She came here for my father. They met when he was visiting family in Palermo. She was 19, and he convinced her to marry him and move to America. I don't think she realized how permanent it would be. That must have been incredibly hard, leaving your entire life behind at 19. It was. She never complained, but I could see it. The way she'd listen to Italian radio, the way she'd light up when she found someone who spoke the language." He set down the pot. "You give her that now. You have no idea what that means to her, to me." Chiara turned to face him, her eyes soft. "I'm glad I can do that for her. She deserves to feel connected to her home." They stood there, looking at each other across the kitchen, and Tommaso felt the pull between them like gravity. He wanted to close the distance, wanted to see if she'd pull away or lean in. But she was young, and she had dreams, and he had no right to complicate her life with what he was. "I should go," Chiara said finally, breaking the moment. "Early shift at the restaurant tomorrow. Let me drive you home." "You don't have to." "It's late, and it's Boston. I'm driving you." She didn't argue, and 20 minutes later, Tommaso pulled up in front of a small house in Medford. Chiara unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't immediately get out. "Thank you," she said, "for today, for letting me use your kitchen, for believing in me when you barely know me." "I know enough." He turned to look at her, this girl who spoke 5 languages and made his mother cry with joy. "You're special, Chiara. Don't let anyone tell you different." She bit her lip, and for a moment, He thought she might say something important. But then she just smiled and said, "Good night, Tommy." "Good night." He watched her walk into her house, waited until the lights came on inside, then drove home thinking about hazel eyes and the way she'd said his name. Teresa's birthday party was a triumph. 12 people crowded around Tommaso's dining room table, eating food that transported them to Sicily. His mother cried 3 separate times, and by the end of the night, every guest was asking where he'd found this miracle chef. Chiara handled it with grace, accepting compliments with genuine humility while also standing confident in her abilities. Tommaso watched her charm his mother's friends, watched her light up when someone asked about her technique, watched her carefully explain the history behind each dish. She fit. That was the terrifying part. She fit into his home, his life, his family, like she'd always been meant to be there. After the guests left, and his mother had gone home with promises to call Chiara the next day, Tommaso found the young woman in his kitchen, finishing the cleanup. "You don't have to do that," he said. "Force of habit. In restaurants, you always clean as you go." She smiled tiredly. "Besides, your mother paid me extremely well for tonight, more than I charged. The least I can do is leave your kitchen spotless. She paid you what you're worth, which is significantly more than you charged." He picked up a towel and started drying. "That was incredible, Chiara. You made her so happy." She made me happy too. Seeing her face when she tasted the food, hearing her tell stories about Sicily, that's everything I want my cooking to do. Bring joy, create memories, connect people to something important. "You're going to change the world," Tommaso heard himself say. "One meal at a time." She laughed softly. "That's the dream. We'll see if reality cooperates." "It will." He set down the towel and turned to face her. "I have no doubt." She looked at him, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. "Why are you so nice to me? And don't say it's because of your mother. This is more than that." Tommaso's heart kicked against his ribs. This was it. The moment he could either be honest or let her walk away thinking he was just being kind. "Because," he said carefully, "I think you're remarkable. I think you're talented and driven and passionate about something that matters. I think you see the world in a way most people don't. And I think anyone who gets to be part of your life is lucky." Her breath caught. "Tommy, I'm not asking for anything," he continued. "I know you have plans. I know you're going places I can't follow. I just want you to know that you're not invisible. You're not just the waitress or the chef or the girl who speaks Italian. You're someone worth noticing." Chiara took a step toward him, her eyes searching his face. "What if I want you to ask for something?" "What?" "You said you're not asking for anything. But what if I want you to?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "What if I've been hoping you would?" Tommaso's world narrowed to this moment. This woman standing in his kitchen with flour still on her sleeve and hope in her eyes. "I'm 9 years older than you. So, you're going to leave Boston, chase your dreams across the world. Maybe I want you to chase them with me." "Chiara." "I'm scared," she admitted. "I've been scared of you since the first night you came into the restaurant. Scared of how you make me feel. Scared of what it means that I think about you when I'm supposed to be studying. Scared that this is real and terrifying and something I can't control." She took another step closer. "But I'm more scared of not trying. Of letting fear make me miss something that could be beautiful." She was quoting his mother, he realized. Teresa must have said something to her. And God help him, he was glad she had. "If we do this," Tommaso said slowly, "I need you to know what you're getting into. My life is complicated. There are things about my family, my business, that might make you want to run." "I know who you are, Tommy." Her voice was steady. "I've always known. And I'm still here. You say that now. Take me to dinner, she interrupted. A real date, somewhere that's not Nana's. Let me decide for myself if this is something I want. He should say no, should protect her from his world, should let her chase her dreams without the weight of what he was dragging her down. But when he looked at her, brave and scared and hopeful all at once, he found himself saying, "Friday night, I'll pick you up at 7. Her smile was like sunrise. "I'll be ready." Their first date was at a small French restaurant in Cambridge, intimate and elegant, the kind of place where they could talk without being overheard. Chiara wore a simple black dress that made her look older than 23, and Tommaso had to remind himself to breathe when he picked her up. They talked for 3 hours, about everything. Her childhood growing up between two cultures, his memories of his father, her dreams of traveling the world, his responsibilities to his family. The more they talked, the more Tommaso realized how much they had in common despite their differences. The same values, the same respect for tradition, the same understanding that family came first, but dreams mattered too. "Can I ask you something?" Chiara said over dessert. "And I need you to be honest. Anything. Your business, the family business, how bad is it?" Tommaso had been expecting this, dreading it and expecting it. "How much do you want to know?" "Everything. If we're going to do this, I need to understand what I'm getting into." So he told her. Not everything. There were some things he'd never tell anyone. But enough. The protection rackets, the gambling operations, the legitimate businesses that fronted for less legitimate dealings, the violence that sometimes came with the territory, the code his family lived by, and the lines they wouldn't cross. She listened without interrupting, her face carefully neutral. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Are you going to run?" he asked, bracing himself for the answer. "No." She looked at him with clear eyes. "I'm not going to run, but I need you to understand something. I can't be part of that world. I can't be involved in the illegal stuff. My career depends on my reputation, and I can't risk that. I would never ask you to. And I need to keep pursuing my dreams. If I get an opportunity in Paris or Tokyo or anywhere else, I need to be able to take it." "I know. So where does that leave us?" Tommaso reached across the table and took her hand. "It leaves us figuring it out together. No promises except honesty. No expectations except respect. We take it one day at a time and see where it goes." She laced her fingers through his. "I can work with that." They left the restaurant hand in hand, and when Tommaso dropped her off at her house, she kissed him. It was soft and brief and perfect, and when she pulled away, she was smiling. "Good night, Tommy." "Good night, Bella." Over the next 3 months, they built something that felt real. Tommaso took her to dinner once a week, always somewhere new so she could analyze the food and the service. They spent Sundays in his kitchen, where she'd cook and he'd watch, and they'd talk about everything and nothing. She met more of his family, carefully selected people who wouldn't scare her off. He met her parents, who were wary at first, but won over by how happy she was. And always, there was Teresa in the background, beaming like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. The chemistry between them grew slowly, carefully. Tommaso was in no rush. She was worth waiting for, and Chiara seemed content to let things develop naturally. But there were moments. The first time she fell asleep on his couch after a long shift, her head on his shoulder. The night he taught her some basic self-defense moves and became hyper-aware of every place their bodies touched. The afternoon she showed up at his house in tears because she'd failed an exam, and he'd held her while she cried. Their first real kiss happened on a Tuesday night in March. She'd come over to practice a new recipe, and they'd ended up slow dancing in his kitchen to Italian music playing from his phone. It had been spontaneous and sweet, And when he'd pulled her closer, she'd tilted her face up to his with invitation clear in her eyes. He'd kissed her like she was precious, like she was something he'd been waiting for his whole life. And when they'd finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, she'd whispered, "I'm falling in love with you." "I'm already there," he'd whispered back. The night of their first real intimacy was 3 weeks later. They'd gone to dinner, then back to his place, and the tension that had been building for months had finally reached its breaking point. She'd pulled him down onto his couch and kissed him with a desperation that matched his own. "Are you sure?" he'd asked, even though it was killing him to wait. "I've never been more sure of anything." He'd carried her to his bedroom, and they'd made love slowly, carefully, with the kind of reverence that came from knowing this was the beginning of something important. Afterward, she'd curled against his chest, and he'd run his fingers through her hair and felt like the luckiest man alive. "I love you," she'd whispered. "Ti amo," he'd replied. "More than I thought I could love anyone." But happy moments don't last forever. In April, reality came crashing back. Chiara came to his house on a Sunday afternoon with an envelope in her hands and tears in her eyes. Tommaso knew immediately that something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, pulling her inside. She handed him the envelope without speaking. Inside was a letter from a Michelin 3-star restaurant in Paris, La Maison Blanche, offering her a 6-month stage position starting in September. "This is good news," Tommaso said, even though his stomach had dropped. "This is what you've been working toward." "I know." Her voice was thick with tears. "I know it is, but Tommy, 6 months in Paris, and then maybe longer if they offer me a permanent position. And what about us? What about your mother? What about everything we've built?" He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "We'll figure it out." "How?" "You can't leave Boston. Your business is here, your family, your whole life. And your whole life is your career, your dreams. I'm not going to ask you to give that up for me." She pulled back to look at him, her face streaked with tears. "But I don't want to lose you." "You won't." He cupped her face in his hands, wiping away her tears with his thumbs. "Chiara, listen to me. This is your dream, the thing you've been working toward for years. You have to go. What if 6 months turns into a year? What if I get other opportunities and I'm gone for 2 years, 3 years? What if we can't survive the distance? Then we'll deal with that if it happens. But I'm not going to be the reason you don't chase your dreams. I refuse to be that person." He kissed her forehead. "You're going to Paris in September. You're going to work your ass off and learn everything you can, and I'll be here, supporting you every step of the way. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's going to be hard as hell, but you're worth it. Your dreams are worth it." He smiled even though it hurt. "And who knows, maybe I can visit, take a vacation, see Paris for the first time." She laughed through her tears. "You've never been to Paris?" "Never had a reason to go. Now I do." They held each other for a long time, neither wanting to let go, both knowing that September was coming whether they were ready or not. The summer passed too quickly. Chiara worked double shifts to save money, and Tommaso spent every free moment he had with her. They didn't talk about September, didn't talk about what would happen when she left. They just existed in their bubble, pretending they had all the time in the world. Teresa, surprisingly, was the voice of reason. "You need to talk about it," she told Tommaso one Friday night when Chiara had texted to cancel dinner because of a shift change. "You cannot keep pretending she is not leaving." "I know she's leaving, Mama." "Do you?" "Because you act like nothing is changing, like she will be here forever." Teresa's eyes were sad but knowing. "I understand. I do. It's easier to pretend. But Tommaso, that girl loves you, and she is terrified. She needs you to tell her what you want. what you see for the future. I want her to go to Paris. I want her to succeed. And after Paris, what then? I don't know. The admission felt like defeat. Then you need to figure it out. Because that girl, she will give up her dreams for you if you let her. She will stay in Boston and always wonder what she missed. And one day she will resent you for it, even if she don't mean to. Teresa leaned forward. You love her, see? Yes. Then you need to be brave. You need to decide what you want and tell her. Give her something to come back to. Or give her permission to fly and know you will be okay without her. But this in between, this is not fair to either of you. Tommaso knew his mother was right. He'd been a coward, avoiding the conversation because he didn't want to face the truth. That Chiara was leaving, and he had no idea if she was coming back. 2 weeks before she was scheduled to leave for Paris, Tommaso asked her to come to his house. He'd been planning this conversation for days, rehearsing what he wanted to say, trying to find the right words. She arrived looking nervous, probably sensing that this was important. Are you breaking up with me? She asked before he could even start. What? No. God, no. He pulled her into his arms. Never. That's not what this is. Then what? He led her to the couch and sat down, keeping hold of her hands. I've been thinking about Paris, about what happens after. Tommy, let me finish. Please. He took a breath. You're going to Paris. You're going to be amazing. And when your 6 months are up, you might get offered a permanent position. Or you might get offers from other restaurants in other cities. Tokyo, London, Rome, who knows? That's what I'm afraid of, she whispered. That I'll be pulled in 100 directions and we'll lose each other. What if you didn't have to choose? What if home wasn't a place but a person? She looked at him, confused. What do you mean? I mean, what if I came with you? Not to Paris. I know you need to do that on your own. But after, if you get an offer in Rome or Tokyo or anywhere else, what if I came with you? You can't leave Boston. Your family can manage without me for a while. My underboss is capable. And with technology, I can run things remotely for the most part. The operations that need to be legitimized can be legitimized. The rest, he shrugged. The rest we figure out. You do that? Leave everything for me? In a heartbeat. He cupped her face. Chiara, you are my everything. My home. My future. Where you go, I want to go. If that's chasing Michelin stars across Europe, or opening a tiny restaurant in Japan or anything else, I want to be part of your dream. She was crying now, full-on sobbing. But what about your mother? She needs you. Tommaso smiled. I talked to her about this. You know what she said? She said it was time for her to go home too. She wants to go back to Sicily, Chiara. She's been wanting to for years but didn't want to leave me. If I'm leaving Boston anyway, she's free to go back. She really said that? She did. In fact, she's already looking at houses in her old village. He laughed. Apparently this has been a dream of hers for decades. She just needed permission to pursue it. Chiara launched herself into his arms, holding him so tight he could barely breathe. I love you so much. So much. I love you too, more than anything. He pulled back to look at her. So here's the plan. You go to Paris in September. Work hard. Learn everything you can. I'll visit when I can, and we'll video call constantly. And when your 6 months are up, we reassess. If you want to stay, we figure out how to make that work. If you get offers elsewhere, we go there together. No pressure, no expectations, just us, figuring it out as we go. You promise? I promise. You and me, Bella, against the world. She kissed him then, deep and desperate and full of promise. And when they finally pulled apart, both breathless and emotional, she whispered, I can't wait to show you Paris. I can't wait to see you thrive there." September came too fast. Tommaso drove Chiara to the airport, her parents and his mother coming along to see her off. There were tears and hugs and promises to call constantly. When it was finally time for her to go through security, she turned to Tommaso one last time. 6 months, she said. 6 months, he agreed, and then the world. She kissed him goodbye, and he watched her walk through security, watched her turn back one last time to wave, watched until she disappeared from sight. Teresa came to stand beside him, slipping her hand into his. "She will be back," she said softly. "Maybe not to stay, but she will come back for you." "I know." Tommaso squeezed his mother's hand. "And when she does, we'll be ready for whatever comes next." The 6 months were harder than Tommaso had expected. Video calls helped, but they weren't the same as having Chiara in his arms. She sent him photos of the dishes she was learning to make, told him stories about the legendary chefs she was working with, described the beauty of Paris in the fall and winter. Tommaso visited twice, once in October for a long weekend, once in December for a week around Christmas. Seeing her in her element, watching her work in a Michelin kitchen with confidence and skill, made his heart swell with pride. She was thriving, growing, becoming the chef she'd always dreamed of being. But she also looked tired. And sometimes, when she thought he wasn't watching, he'd see homesickness in her eyes. "Do you miss Boston?" he asked one night as they walked along the Seine. "I miss you," she said. "And your mother. And my family. But this," she gestured around them, "this is everything I dreamed it would be. I'm learning so much, Tommy. Every day I'm getting better, more confident, more skilled." "I can see that. You're amazing, Bella." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "The chef offered me a permanent position, starting in March." Tommaso's heart stuttered. "That's incredible. That's wow. Congratulations." "I haven't said yes yet." "Why not?" "Because I've been thinking about what comes next, about what I really want." She took his hands. "I love Paris. I love this restaurant. But Tommy, I want to go to Italy. I want to work in Rome or Florence or Milan. I want to learn from Italian masters, not just French ones. And I want to do it with you beside me. So say no to Paris, and we'll go to Rome. You'd do that? Just pick up and move to Italy? For you, in a heartbeat." He pulled her close. "I told you, Chiara. Where you go, I go. If Rome is next, then we go to Rome." She kissed him right there on the bridge, and passers-by smiled at the young couple so obviously in love. "I need to finish my stage," she said. "Honor my commitment. But in March, when it's done, we go to Italy. Together." "Together," he agreed. And that's exactly what they did. In March, Tommaso and Chiara moved to Rome. He'd spent the previous months setting up legitimate business ventures that he could run from Europe, delegating the Boston operations to his underboss, and preparing for a new chapter. Teresa had already moved to Sicily, buying a small house in her childhood village, and finally, after 35 years, coming home. Chiara secured a position at a 2 Michelin star restaurant in Rome, and Tommaso rented them an apartment in Trastevere, with a view of the city that made Chiara cry when she first saw it. They built a new life there. Sunday dinners became a tradition, sometimes in Rome at their apartment, sometimes in Sicily at Teresa's house, always full of food and laughter and love. Chiara's Italian improved from fluent to flawless. Tommaso learned to navigate Roman bureaucracy and Italian business culture. They traveled on weekends, Florence, Venice, Naples, tiny villages in the countryside, and through it all, they stayed committed to each other and to their dreams. 1 year after moving to Rome, on a Sunday afternoon in Teresa's garden in Sicily, Tommaso got down on one knee. "Chiara Rossi," he said in Italian, "you have changed my life in every possible way. You brought joy back to my mother. You showed me that home isn't a place. It's a person. You taught me that love means supporting someone's dreams, even when it's scary, even when it means change. He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, with a stone the color of her eyes. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life supporting your dreams and building new ones with you? She was crying, laughing, nodding all at once. Yes, yes, yes. 1,000 times. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her, while Teresa and Kiara's parents, who'd flown in for this moment, cheered and cried and celebrated. They got married 6 months later, in a small church in Teresa's village, with a reception in the same garden where Tommaso had proposed. Chiara wore her mother's wedding dress, altered to fit her. Tommaso wore a traditional Italian suit. Teresa cried through the entire ceremony, and during her toast at the reception she said, "I wait 35 years to come home, but I bring home with me in my heart, my son. And now he find his home too, not in place, in person. This is what I always wish for him." 2 years after moving to Rome, Chiara was promoted to sous chef at her restaurant. 3 years after, she was offered the position of executive chef at a new restaurant opening in the city, smaller, more intimate, with a focus on regional Italian cuisine and personal stories told through food. She accepted, and the restaurant, called Nonna's, in honor of where she and Tommaso had met, became one of the most sought-after reservations in Rome. And through it all, Tommaso was beside her, supporting her, loving her, building their life together one day, one meal, one dream at a time. On a Sunday 5 years after that first Friday night when she'd spoken Italian to his mother, Tommaso and Chiara sat in Teresa's garden in Sicily, watching the sunset over the Mediterranean. Teresa was inside, cooking dinner with Chiara's mother, their laughter drifting through the open windows. "Do you ever regret it?" Chiara asked, her head on his shoulder. "Leaving Boston? Leaving your old life behind?" "Not for a second." Tommaso kissed the top of her head. "Best decision I ever made. Even though I dragged you halfway across the world?" "Especially because you dragged me halfway across the world. I was stagnant, Chiara. Stuck. You gave me permission to want something different, to choose something different." She tilted her face up to kiss him. "I love you." "Ti amo," he replied, "always and forever." From inside the house, Teresa called out that dinner was ready. They stood, hand in hand, and walked toward the light and warmth and love waiting for them. This was home, not Boston, not Rome, but here, in this moment, with these people, building a life that honored both tradition and dreams. This was everything. If you loved this story of finding love through food and family, and watching two people build a life that honors both tradition and ambition, subscribe to the channel for more stories where dreams and love don't have to be enemies. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it when Chiara first spoke Italian to Teresa? When Tommaso decided to follow her dreams? Or when Teresa finally went home to Sicily? Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story about love, family, and the courage to choose something beautiful. Until next time, remember, home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a person. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is chase your dreams and bring the people you love along for the journey. Grazie for listening.